Okay, I think we are live. Hey
Hello.
everyone.
I thought maybe we were gonna do that barbershop quartet thing where we're like, hello, hello, hello. Even though we didn't talk
Okay,
about doing that and we've never done that, and I don't know why I thought
we can do that next time if we practice.
that.
Only if we practice.
We can just all be very off key, like, hello, and then everyone will be like, oh, they're writers, maybe.
No, it's okay. It'll be our first draft. Like that's what we're all about, right?
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Um, Although, Catherine, I know you have a secret identity as a person in a band who's actually a singer, so.
I do. So, I
Okay.
mean, a not so secret identity, I guess.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not now, thanks. But anyway, hello to everybody who's joining us today for this virtual write-in. We'll be spending the next hour and change. Oh, hello, Buster. We'll be spending the next hour or so talking about writing and doing some writing prompts to get excited and start working on our projects for Camp NaNoWriMo. I'm Catherine. I'm the communications manager at NaNoWriMo. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them.
I am Mariah. I'm one of the program directors at NaNoWriMo. My pronouns are she, her, and that was Buster. And his face wouldn't resolve with, like, it kept flashing in and out, which is too bad, but he's sleeping behind me right now.
And hi, everyone. I'm Nautica. I'm the editorial intern for this summer. My pronouns are they, them, or she, her. And this is my first time being in one of these.
Congratulations.
We're very excited to have you here.
Yeah, you're gonna do great. Okay. Did you say I was too busy grabbing Buster that I forgot? Did you say what we're gonna do at a virtual write-in for anyone who's here who's new?
I did, just to distract you from
Dang it. Sorry.
But yeah, feel free to if you're watching this to put in the chat like where you're writing from or what you're going to be working on today. If you don't know what you're going to be writing yet for Camp NaNoWriMo, if you haven't made your project yet, you can ask for advice on what you should be writing. But essentially, we're going to be using this this virtual write-in today to kind of get back into the writing groove. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't written things in a while, so I need some practice to remember like how to do this whole writing thing again.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of this, that we're doing this the day before Camp NaNoWriMo kicks off, because it gives us like a little extra time to like panic, and get ready before it actually starts.
Building in some panic time is good.
Yeah, it is building in some panic time.
Although depending on time zones, it may already be July 1st or something.
Oh yeah, let's see. So here's where people are coming from. Maria's coming from France, and she's writing a fantasy story. Pepperoni Fan 1982 is in the UK and is handwriting the screenplay, which is exciting. Foxcat 97 is from Canada. Ainsley Carter is writing from Texas, which is really cool. So far, I think everyone is still in the June 30th.
All right.
But it's getting close, especially if you're in the UK or France. I think you're a few hours away from beginning of camp. So panic real fast because you don't have too much time. And people from the US, Ohio, West Virginia. Hello, hello. I'm in Oakland. I think Nautica. Go ahead. Oh. Nautica is also in Oakland. Woo!
Yeah. Somehow secret.
Sorry. I feel like over the past year and a half, we've gotten very good at Zoom, but the thing that I haven't gotten better at is interrupting people. Like I just feel like I'm constantly interrupting. So I apologize in advance if I interrupt you. I'm sorry.
I would argue that means you've gotten better at interrupting people.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I love that framing. Okay. Catherine, you made this amazing script for us.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of things that would help kind of get us started, get in the mood, and get excited about camp. Which also, by the way, I don't know if people showing up have made their camp projects yet or have done Camp NaNoWriMo before. But if you haven't, it's basically a month-long challenge during the month of July, where you can create a writing projects and a goal for your writing project. So usually in November, we're people trying to write a novel, trying to get to 50,000 words. But for camp, you can choose a different goal. You can choose a different kind of writing project. So like short stories or screenplays or graphic novels or whatever you want to work on. It's a little more flexible. That's kind of why we call it Camp NaNoWriMo, that kind of like fun camp feel. So I was trying to think of things that would kind of get us ready for those. And I apologize if you hear a train in the background. I'm a little close to the train tracks now, but just think of it as writing ambiance. But just to kind of get our writing fingers warmed up, figured we'd start with a 5-minute prompt, just kind of taking some words and using them in a sentence or a scene or a phrase. So I came up with a few different words that I'll put in the chat, and you can feel free to use any or all of them. Or if they don't work for you, if you don't want to use this prompt, that's totally fine. I'll set a 5-minute timer anyway, and you can write whatever you want for 5 minutes.
I feel like I might spend 5 minutes just like staring at my project.
That is also valid.
Okay, good.
All right, so let's see here. For the first prompt, the words I came up with are bundle, adventure, strike, dirt, and sleeping. Those are the 5 words I came up with, and I put them in the chat. And I will also put them in the video description. But for the next 5 minutes, let's write a scene. Try to use one or some or all of those words if you can. Let's see, I'll bring up my timer here real quick. So 5 minutes, just getting our writing groove back. Let's start now. Got about a minute left in this sprint. All right, and that is time. So go ahead and wrap up what you're writing, finish up your sentence. If you want to drop in the chat either how many words you wrote during that sprint, or if you used any of the words, or if you want to share a sentence that you wrote, feel free to drop it in there.
I'm excited for sentences. I like to see what people do with, like, I've heard people say this before, like other authors say this before, that like limitation can really lead to a lot of creativity. Like when you can just do anything you want, you'd think that that would be more, you'd be more creative that way. But things like, you know, use these words, or I know that Grant, who's the executive director, he has the thing called 100 word stories, where you have to write a story in 100 words. And it's amazing to see the creativity that can come out of that. We've got a former intern. Oh, you said it already. We've got a former intern in the chat. Hi, China.
Hi, China. I love seeing former interns pop up.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, actually, while people are sharing things, I would love to, as those results are coming in, I would love to hear from you all, and from us on the screen, and from you in the chat, if there's a certain project that you're working on for camp right now, and have you planned it out in advance, or are you a pantser? I already can tell based on some of the chat responses that you are pantsing your pants off, because there are people who are like, I just started, which is fine. But yeah, what's your project, and are you planning it or pantsing it? I am going to keep working on this novel that's now in the third draft that I've been working on since 2018. So I am for sure I am plotting through my plan right now. What about you all?
I'm totally pantsing it. I haven't decided yet.
My buster just was like, whoop.
He called me out. Yeah. I might also be working on a novel that I think I started in 2018. Although I'm coming up on my, I've been doing grad school for creative writing, and I'm coming up on my like creative writing thesis semester. So I'm probably going to be working on that all through the fall. So I might want to work on something else this camp to just give my brain a break a little bit from that. I'll figure it out tomorrow.
Cool.
How about you, Nautica?
I was working on like a movie script for a while, but realized it'd be better as like a book, or like it would help creatively, like just push it all out. I got a lot of ideas going into it. I've probably been working on it since like 2017. So we're really trying to push out these long babies, these long novels we've been holding in.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really taking a long time to birth. Yeah. just to think of a really kind of physical, gross metaphor. Like it's just been in there for so long. Abia Hannah says, I was sleeping. Sure, I was covered in dirt, and my bundle of food was mostly peppermints, but they couldn't wake me by pouring water and striking me. I was answering the call of adventure.
I love that.
They worked them all in. Pepperoni Fan 1982 said, I heard a mewling sound like a kitten crying. I crept to the main door of the house. There was a bundle sitting on the stoop. On closer inspection, I realized it was a basket inside were blankets. Inside those blankets were two very tiny human babies, one dressed in blue, the other in lilac. Love that.
I thought they were going to be actual kittens, and I got very excited because
kittens.
So.
Rocket Joe 86 says that they're pantsing, at least the stories. As I don't know if I will work on 2 projects parallel, it could be 1 pantsing and 1 plotted project. Someone just said, an author that I follow, actually I think it was Jamie Attenberg who does 1,000 Words of Summer, and I follow her on Twitter, and she said that she's working on 2 novels at the same time, and that's like prime Gemini or whatever. So if you're into, you know, astrology, I feel like that's a real Gemini thing to do. Versus being a Virgo, I'm a Virgo, so I know that, for example, I should just be planning I should just be planning, and but you know, we don't have to identify with our astrology signs. Oh my gosh, although one time we did come up with a NaNoWriMo horoscope that I'll drop in the chat. Let me Google that really fast.
We did. I'd forgotten we did that.
Me too. Let me see if I can find it and share it with you all. That would be a real throwback. I would love to share it, and then you can decide. Boom.
You know, accredited astrologers that we all are.
Oh yes. Yeah, we definitely didn't make this up in the office Slack channel. Like, it's definitely real. But also, I think it's probably pretty good. Hold on, I lost your chat. Here we go. All right, if you want to figure out your NaNoWriMo horoscope, there you go. Yeah. Let's see. What else are other people doing?
I love this quote from Imaginos Destinova. Bryce held the bundle of small recording devices close to his chest as he made his way into the enemy encampment. It was time to bring this overlong adventure to an end.
Love it. Madiha Fatima says, every single morning Addison saw a young boy and girl near the bus stop. However, they weren't there to take a bus. Rather, they had a bundle of papers that they scribbled on. Rain or shine, no matter what day it was, the 2 children were always present, huddled over colorful papers, which is why Addison felt uneasy when they were not there the next morning. Oh my God. That's such a great setup for a story because, like, there's just a question embedded in it from the very beginning. You're like, what are the papers? Mm-hmm. Or just like the tension in those first 2 sentences, like they were near the bus stop, but they weren't there to ride the bus. Like, I definitely want to keep reading that. It's pretty exciting. Yeah. Cool. Shall we do our next prompt?
Yeah, let's
oh no, someone says I'm mumbling. You know what I'm going to do? Sometimes Zoom does this to me where they automatically mess with my microphone. So I'm going to fix that for a second.
Okay.
Because I don't think I'm mumbling. I'd like to think I would know, but I think it's my mic.
I mean, you are in a very fancy library by the look of your background. So.
True, I have to be very quiet.
We did actually once hold a virtual write-in in a library. That was fun. I like this from Mel. Splash! A bundle of rocks tumbles down the mountain, striking against the body of water. This was a clear sign of things to come.
Boom. All right, should we jump into our next one?
All right, yeah, let's do it. So this one's going to be a bit longer now that we've kind of had our little warm up here. So this one will be 10 minutes long. And so for this second writing sprint, again, you don't have to use the prompt if it doesn't work for where you're at in your story or if it doesn't speak to you, but it's there as kind of a jumping off point if that's helpful. So prompt number 2 is to write a scene where your character stays overnight at a place that is unfamiliar to them. And I was thinking of like sleepaway camp here. And it's actually kind of appropriate because my house is currently being worked on and has no water, so I'm staying at my partner's house. But write a scene where your character stays overnight at a place that is unfamiliar to them. Describe their new surroundings. Why are they there? Do they want to be there? Are there other people in this place? So again, this one is 10 minutes long, and I will drop the prompt in the chat in the video description. So 10 minutes writing about your character sleeping in a new place. And let's start now. About 5 minutes left of this one. About a minute left. Okay. that is time. So go ahead and wrap up what you're writing. Again, if you want to drop in the chat how many words you got during that sprint, or if you want to share a sentence with us, or talk about what you wrote about for that prompt, feel free to share with us and let us know. How'd it go for you guys?
It actually worked.
Awesome.
I was like, I usually when these things come, I get stuck thinking about it. So I was like, okay, just treat it like a sprint, and wrote the whole time.
Great. Excellent. How about you, Mariah?
I find these a lot of pressure, and sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't. So I like wrote a couple things, but then kind of drifted. I'm realizing more that I'm like pretty a private writer, like writing with people watching me and like trying to manage all those different things. It's really hard for me to like sink into a space. Like I know like maybe you could share in the chat if you have like a favorite writing space, because I know some people love like cafes and being busy, and I'm realizing my favorite is like in a room where no one can, like I know no one's gonna come in, and sometimes even with headphones that play like white noise or sometimes like pink noise, which is just like a deeper version of white noise. So I really like that. It's kind of the opposite of being on screen, trying to write. That said, I've done a couple when I really pushed that out of the way, like it seems like you did, Narika. I've done some cool stuff here that I wouldn't have done in other places. Just not today.
That's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll accept that.
Allie Alexis Spriggs asks, has anyone seen the NaNoWriMo writed mascot, the frog-like stuffed animal, Flooby or something?
Flooby.
I love it. It's going to become his middle name now. His name is Blobby. He's technically a dinosaur, but like a very rotund dinosaur. He's very round. He has been living at my house through the past few months, but I am not at my house right now, so unfortunately, Blobby is not here today. But we'll have him here next week.
That's very funny. All Horse Feathers says that they wrote 169 words. I'm still struggling with writing in first person and discovering my character, but this prompt is easier than the last. What you just said there about struggling to discover your character, that rings so true to me. I'm in the third draft of my novel, and I feel like just now am I figuring out the voice and like the heart of the character that I'm working on, which meant that like for 2 drafts, for like literally hundreds of thousands of words, I was just like trying to figure it out, which is one thing that's so frustrating about writing sometimes. It's like sometimes you hit it right away, and sometimes like you just spend, that's what you do in your first draft is you get to know your character. So I'm with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, the long project that I've been working on, I've also been struggling with that one because I did start off writing it in first person, but it was from 12 different perspectives, and then I was like, I can't do this. So I have transitioned into third person now from that.
I did that honestly, like for anybody writing a first draft, and the first draft that I wrote of this story, I give myself permission to write whatever, like first person, third person. I could flip around like first like different chapters, even in different scenes, or like at a certain point I switched the character that I was following as my main character just because I was trying to figure it out. And that first draft, like I am not really using any of it, which would maybe seem sad to people who aren't writers, but like it was necessary for me to get to my next draft, But really like feel free to just experiment. If something's not working, like try something else. That's definitely don't feel like that first draft has to be anything other than like a playground for figuring things out.
No, I went to stay with my parents for a few weeks a little while ago, and my mom and I played a lot of Bananagrams. I don't know if you guys have ever played that game, but it's basically like a bunch of Scrabble tiles, but you don't have the board, and you have to like keep rearranging it to make new words. And she was having such a hard time at first, like breaking apart the old words that she made in order to make new words. And I feel like first drafts are kind of like that. You like want to hold on to the cool words that you've made. And it's scary to try and break them up, but you have to do that if you want to kind of like move on to the next thing. So
yeah, it's really it's like the I'm going to tell the story wrong, but like the Buddhist monks who will draw really complex things in the sand and then let it flow away because like it's about the process, not this finished product, which I think is pretty interesting. I wanted to call Listella or Listea Perry, whose goal is only 5,000 words, but they said, I'm just practicing to write every day, LOL, plus my work in progress is a short story. I think using camp as a way to practice writing every day is a really good idea because we've done a lot of surveys of like people who win NaNoWriMo and people who reach their goals. And it seems like something pretty consistent is, and this isn't possible for everyone, but like developing a habit to write every day, even a little bit, is like pretty key. So that seems like a really good way to step up to that. Like you don't have to start running a marathon every day, right? Like you just have to do a little bit every day, and then your muscle will get stronger.
Yeah. Rocket Joe 86 wrote 332 words and said, interesting how slow my writing gets once I have to do academic writing. I definitely feel that.
Same here. Oh, it kills me. I'm a college student, and so I can write 1,000 words, but if it's for an essay, I'll take the whole day. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Not me. Not for me.
Ruben Villalobos says, I'm writing kind of dull and cliche, which again, like, I feel like people are sharing some great writing advice in the chat. So if you have other writing advice, like either the best or the worst you've gotten, or even like, please share it. Because I once had a writing advice that was like, write your first draft, like just tell it the easiest way possible. So like, don't worry about making it good. Don't worry about making it like the best way to say this thing, or like the advice was like literally just write it the easiest way you can. And if right now that means it's dull and cliche, like that's it. If I look back at those characters that I wrote in the first draft, I'm humiliated. Like they're nothing, you know, they're so dull and cliche, but they're not anymore because like I kept going. So if that's the first draft, like write a dull and cliche draft.
Definitely. It's gonna happen to all of us at some point. Somebody where I just lost it. Oh, Misty Kate asked, I think when we were talking about Blobby, when we'll all be back in the NaNoWriMo office together. And I think the projection right now is the beginning of October, where you might once again be able to see the inside of the NaNoWriMo office instead of the inside of our homes. So
that'll be exciting. We'll all be super awkward. Just like, hi guys. Jason Andrews said, I read something the other day. The first draft is you telling yourself a story. And I forget, that's a quote from an author, and I could probably Google it, but I love that quote as well. Like, yeah, just tell yourself the story. I love it. Terry Pratchett, love that. Thank you, Terry Pratchett. You've given us so many gifts.
Including soon to be season 2 of Good Omens.
Woohoo. Is anyone working on, because we're giving all this advice for first drafts, and like I'm like a little sad because I'm not working on a first draft anymore, you know? And I know that some people use Camp for revising, and so I'm going to use it for revising. But one thing that I do think is true is that if you never really revised, you think of revising as being kind of boring, like you have to like make it perfect. And honestly, like when you know you're writing like 5, 6 drafts of a thing, like I still feel like I'm playing around like in this third draft. Like I'm still trying out new things and I'm still like writing more than I'm copying. Like I'm not really copying anything. Like but now I just know the characters better, so I'm doing a better job. I hope, you know, no one's read it yet, but I do think like all the things we're saying about like playing and figuring stuff out, you can still be doing that in your later drafts. You just have a better, like your sense in your first draft is like all over the place. And then as you start revising, you're like things starts getting more and more in tune. So it's easier for you to find that path, but you're still like looking for it.
I like to use the visual of like going back and forth, you know, because especially in my grad program, it's like I'll work with a different advisor each semester. And if I'm working on the same project, like sometimes I'll show it to one person, they'll be like, oh, like you should do this, this, and this. And I'll be like, okay, let me do this, this, and this. And then I'll show it to the next person. They're like, you should do this, this, and this, and like undoing all of the things that the previous person just told me to do. And so it's kind of, it can be a little frustrating, but it's good because like you can like try from both ends and then figure out like, oh no, what do I want this story to say, and like where on that spectrum like do I want to find that path and want it to go. So you know, take people's advice, but also remember why you were writing this story for yourself. But then the thing with that is like if I've had multiple people tell me the same thing and I feel like pushing back on it, I'm like, oh no, I should probably listen to this if a lot of people are telling me that I like overuse dashes or whatever, which I do.
Classic. Yeah, sometimes I feel like when people say things, like if the same people bring up the same problem, sometimes they all are identifying the problem, but they're not identifying the solution. So like even though sometimes they think they are, they're like, oh, you should try this. And so then I have to like decode it where I'm like, oh, everyone's pointing at this problem and I'm going to figure out the solution, like, which is, you know, you have to figure out how to do it. Should we do our next prompt?
Yeah, how are we feeling on this one? Do we want to do another 10-minute prompt? We could do a slightly longer prompt if people are really getting into their writing. How are you guys feeling? I know there's a little bit of delay from when we talk and when we see stuff show up in the chat. So
Yeah, while people are saying, we can say that Crazy Foxy says they're working on the 4th draft of their book, which they started in November Nano, clarifying the scene-by-scene goals, which is great. I love revision. That sounds so fun to me when you say that. I'm like, I can't wait until that's the thing I'm doing in my novel versus like still slogging through trying to write it. And Rocket Joe says, I did a rewrite of a pretty old story last camp. At least I started it. It helped me a lot for 2 projects, the revised one and the one that grew out of the same idea. That's cool. But sometimes I wonder if I should drop a story if revising feels like going in circles. Here's some good advice that I got before. Like if there's a story that like you keep getting drawn to, it probably means there's something in there that you want to keep working on. So like if there's a story that feels like it's going in circles, but you're still so interested in it and you want to keep going back to it, then like keep working on it. But if you're just revising it because you feel like you have to and you're not excited anymore, like maybe drop it. Because like you don't have to do the thing that you don't want to do in writing. You do have to do it in life sometimes, but like you don't really have to do it in writing. So.
Well, yeah. I guess if you're contracted to write a specific thing, then you do.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
All right, we're getting some input. Some people are saying 15, some people are saying 10. So I'm gonna go in the middle and say let's do a 12-minute prompt, just to really throw things off here. So 12 minutes, a little bit longer than the last prompt. And again, if you don't want to use the prompt, that's totally fine. You can use this time to write whatever you want. But this last prompt here, kind of sticking with our camp theme, I was trying to think of like, I don't know, building things. I didn't go to a lot of camps, so a lot of this is making it up in my head. But for this last prompt, let's say your character must quickly build something important with the materials that they have at hand. So what do they need to build and why? What things do they use to build it? And does the thing they build actually work or not? So I think, it could be like they have to escape from a tower and they rip up a bed sheet to like build a rope to get down or something like that. Could be an example, but just be kind of fun to have your character build something from what they have in the space around them. So again, setting my timer for 12 minutes. I'll put the prompt in the chat and let's start writing now. Got about 5 minutes left in this one. About a minute left. Time is up for that last sprint. So wrap up what you're writing. Again, if you want to share a sentence or the word count that you got for that sprint or your total word count that you got for this whole virtual write-in today, feel free to put that in the chat. It's good. I feel like especially after a longer sprint, it's like there's some transition to come back from like writing brain to talking brain.
Honestly, I didn't even hear you talking to me. Like I heard you talking and I was like not gonna come back until you said that second thing. I don't know why. It's just distracting.
That's great. Anthony Stevens says, I realized after my first draft that in order to make my characters as interesting as possible, a couple of my characters actually had to have parts of their backstory swap. But also that this particular theme was great because the first book is sort of at a school summer camp. So I'm glad that was helpful.
Cool. Ali Alexis Spriggs shared a sentence. So they are zombies in the sense that they will eat you, but it's not all they think about. If you throw them a hamburger, they eat that while you run. So I guess there's that. That sounds very fun. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And HM says, I somewhat unintentionally just wrote a gothic ghost story, so that's fun. I just want to add my 2 cents. That is very fun. I love gothic ghost stories, or like gothic any stories I love. I just read like a couple months ago Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. That maybe is her name. It was amazing. So Mexican Gothic, I highly recommend if you want a good gothic story.
Awesome. That's going on my list.
Thank you. Ali Alexis Spriggs says, oh, I love that ASMR. I'm assuming that's like us clicking. We used to mute. One time we muted ourselves typing, and then the people watching were like, where'd you go? So now we just stay unmuted and we like type away. So
yeah. Wait, should we transition our YouTube channel into making typing ASMRs?
Oh my gosh, maybe. Just like quiet typing and clicking with our faces.
Yeah.
You can do the writing prompts and whispers too.
Oh my gosh, you saying that gave me shivers. I don't think I have ASMR, but I do get the feeling of like the shivers.
All right, this is going in the idea pile.
All Horse Feathers says they wrote 312 words, amazing, and they said my characters were trying to build a fire in a desert and having no luck. Love that. Ali Alexis Spriggs says I got an hour and a half till camp start at midnight, but I'm fading. Yeah, I would also be fading. I've stopped trying to stay up for things. I made up for New Year's, and that was it.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got no minutes left. That's too bad.
Oh yeah. The hour went really quickly. I felt it's really good to be doing these again.
Yeah. Lustella Perry says, I actually got 981 words for this whole write, and I'm proud. I also developed some new ideas, so I'm excited for this month. That's amazing. 981, like in an hour?
That's awesome.
That's good job. And okay, let's see if there's any other quick things that we should remind people. So one, of course, we've talked about camp starting. So if you haven't started your project yet, you should start it. We can add that link to the video description. Or it might already be there, actually. I'm not sure.
In the video description, but I'm adding it to the chat right now. So
cool. We have a camp counselor next week, Lindsay Grant. She used to work for NaNoWriMo. She was the second hired employee, which is a fun fact. And she just wrote a book called Ready, Set, Memoir. That's all about how to write a memoir for all kinds of people, like anybody who's ever wanted to tell a story from your life, like this is a book for you. And so she's going to be our special guest camp counselor next week. You'll hear from her, but then she's also going to join us on this virtual write-in to talk. So even if you've never thought about doing memoir, I'm sure like there'll be some interesting stuff and you can always apply it to your fiction if that's what you want to do. But I'm pretty excited about that. Also, if you've wanted to do, sorry, Catherine, you made this great list and now I'm reading it. Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm on a roll. We have also a link to our camp memoir track. So if you wanted to try something totally different this camp, you could try writing a memoir, and we have some resources for you, including Lindsay is a great resource for that. You can check out that link. And then we're also doing a memoir writers Zoom hangout with Lindsay tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific. So Zoom hangout is like this, but we're going to see each other's faces. It's going to be so weird. And that's for if you're interested in writing a memoir this camp, you can RSVP for that and come.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you click the bell, you'll get notifications when we have new videos and new live events happening. So if you want to keep up with what we're doing on here, then that is the way to do it. And I just dropped the links for the Memoir Writers Hangout and for the memoir track in the chat as well. So
cool.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, it was fun to see you all.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, happy Camp NaNoWriMo, and good luck with your writing, and we will see y'all again next week, same time. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. Okay, I'm going to end the stream on YouTube.
You're still typing.